Hi guys, it's Steffi from the Novelty Corner and welcome back to my channel. Today I'm here with a books beside my bed video. For those of you who are new to my channel, welcome. Every week I wrap up the last 7 days worth of reading and share with you some stats and some thoughts on the books that I've read. For those of you who are familiar with this concept, welcome back. I hope that you enjoyed this video. This is my reading week from the 17th to the 23rd of February. So it's the second last wrap up for Feb. So next week I will share my monthly reading stats as updated from last month. This week I read 8 different things. 3 of those were adult novels, 2 were middle grade, 2 were novellas, and 1 was a non-fiction reference title. I read a total of 2,243 pages and my yearly reading total is up to 46 books. Now, this is a much better reading week for me, although to be honest, I read the bulk of this on the Sunday and Monday as well as Friday and Saturday because the novellas and the middle grade books are very quick and easy to read. They only took a couple of hours to get through those. So before anyone tells me that I read a lot, yes, I do read a lot and I read very quickly, but I also picked books that I knew that I could get through. First, I read Temple by Matthew Reilly. This was first published in 1999 by Pan Macmillan. I gave it 4.5 out of 5 stars, even though there are some problematic elements in it. Honestly, Matthew Reilly is just pure nostalgia read for me, and that's why I just speed through his books, even though this one is something like 600 and something pages long. It is a very, very quick book to read. It is not difficult at all. The basic premise for this book is that there is a hunt going on in the jungles of Peru for an ancient idol that apparently has properties that would be wonderful for creating a very terrifying weapon. And a professor, William Race, who is a linguist, is called in to assist the US Army in translating a document to help them find this idol before their enemies. And there is a lot of backstabbing, double-crossing, people not being who they say they are. There's also the, problematic elements of basically writing people as stereotypes, but you know what? I can get through that if I just want something to read quick and easy, and this was a reread for me. I've read this a few times now. So yes, I understand that it's problematic. I also understand that it's pure nostalgia, and I will not be apologetic for that because I think we all need those books that, even though we know that they're probably not the best books that we could be reading, that they're fun, they're easy, and they just bring you a tiny little bit of joy to read. My second book was my reread for the month, and that was The 7 Deaths of Evelyn Hardcastle by Stuart Taunton. I read this at the start of last year and I really, really enjoyed it, and I read it as an e-arc. So it was nice to read a finished copy. This was published in 2018 by Raven Books and I gave it 4.5 out of 5 stars. What I did remember about this book before I started reading is that it takes a while to get into it because this is a story that is quite complex and has a lot of characters, so you have to give it time for things to actually sink in before you can really start to appreciate it. And that's definitely true, although having read it prior to reading it this second time around made it a lot easier because I was remembering things and able to make the connections in the story. The basic premise of this is that a man wakes up in a body and he doesn't remember who he is or where he is, and he rapidly discovers that he is in fact inhabiting the body of 8 different people over the course of 8 different days trying to solve the murder or the death of Evelyn Hardcastle. And each time he falls asleep, he wakes up in a new body who has a different perspective on the entire event, and he has to piece together bits and pieces. And this is not told in a linear style because literally every time a character falls asleep, whether it's the middle of the day or the end of the day, he wakes up in the body of the next person right where he left off. So it's sort of this really mind-twisty thriller thing, and I really loved it. I still enjoy it, and you can't pick what's going on until the very end, and I really appreciate that. Then I read an e-arc from NetGalley, and that was Deadly Bowels by Jodie Holford. This is a 2019 release from Lyrical Underground, and I gave it 3.5 out of 5 stars. This is book 2 in the Britain Bay mystery series, which I started reading last year, and it focuses on Molly Owens, who moved from a city to a small beachside town to become the editor-in-chief of the local newspaper. It's a cozy mystery, so it's quite an easy read. In this particular mystery, she finds herself involved in the death of a famous chef who has come to the town to create the wedding menu of a former resident of the town. So the chef ends up dead, then the bride goes missing, and Molly just decides to get herself involved in the entire thing, much to the chagrin of her boyfriend, as well as to the consternation of the local police force who keep trying to tell her to stay out of it because she always finds herself falling into trouble. Deadly Vows is a really simple, easy to read book. I think I probably should have reread the first book before diving back into this just because it took me a while to place some of the characters and remember where things were, because the cozy mysteries tend to have a similar sort of theme and style and setting, and I've read a couple since I read the first book and it just took me a second to remember which town I was in, but that's more on me than it is on the book. So I did enjoy it. It's well worth a read. I like the character of Molly Owens, and there was a lovely little romance element in here, which is not always as present in some of the crazy mysteries that I read. It was just really lovely. Then I read Escape from Mr. Lemoncello's Library by Chris Grabenstein, which was recommended to me by Kirsty from Melbourne on My Mind, and I really enjoyed this. This is a middle grade book. It was published in 2013 by Penguin Random House, and I gave this one 5 out of 5 stars. It was just a whole lot of fun. I've basically described this to anyone who's asked me as Willy Wonka meets Night at the Museum while stuck in a library that's also doubling as an escape room. It's a lot of fun. It starts off in a small town, and a group of 12-year-olds find out that a very world famous game maker is opening a library in their town, and this library is very well appointed and very futuristic, and it's meant to be amazing. And he enters an essay writing competition to spend a night in the library as one of the first people to preview it with a group of children. The night goes well, the kids all really enjoy it, and then in the morning they wake up and find that the doors are locked, and all the parents are informed that the children who can escape the library will win a wondrous prize, and they all go, oh, that's wonderful, because it's a middle grade book. And the kids basically have to find their way out of the library using literary references and the library system, and it's totally awesome. And I know a whole bunch of grades in my school who will probably pick this up and start reading it. Then I read The Island of Dr Lubbers, which is also by Chris Grabenstein, and this one was published in 2015 by Penguin Random House, and I gave this one 3.5 out of 5 stars. I didn't really enjoy it as much as the previous book, as you can probably obviously tell. This one is told from the perspective of Billy, whose parents are just about to separate, and he is spending the summer with his mother in a cabin on a lake, and the cabin belongs to a colleague of her mother, Dr. Lubbers, and he has this library in his cabin, and through a series of events, Billy finds himself without any form of technology, and so he starts wandering into the library. And there, once he starts reading some of the books, some of the characters start to come alive, and it's an adventure story, but it's also sort of got this other subplot from Dr. Lubbers, who is sort of this omnipresent person that we get little random scientific footnotes from and things like that. I wish this one had had more female characters like the first book, and there's nothing wrong with it. It is a really interesting story, and there's a lot of really great literary characters and literary references that kids will love. It just didn't grab me as much as Escape from Mr. Lemoncello's Library. Then I read 2 novellas, Immortal Desire and Pure Desire by, I think, Denise Tompkins, and they were published in 2013 and 2014 respectively by Mills and Boon Nocturne, so they're paranormal romance books, and I gave them both about a 3 out of 5 stars. I could even probably drop that to like a 2.75. They're fine, there's nothing wrong with them. The first book follows a succubus and an incubus who work in a bar, and the second book follows 2 fallen angels, and I basically read them because I'd found out that the second book had angels in it, and I love reading angel books, but that one really fell flat for me. They're okay, they're novellas, they're all 80 pages or less, so they're really quick and easy to read. They probably focus more on sex than they do on actually developing a relationship, because it is such a short form, not a lot really happens in it. There's nothing wrong with them, yeah, I've read better. And finally, I finally finished reading A Writer's Notebook by Ralph Fletcher. I picked this up as a reference book for my work. This was originally published in 1996 by HarperCollins, and I gave it 3.5 out of 5 stars. I mean, not that I really rate my reference books because this is literally for work, but this sort of goes into the thought process behind having a writer's notebook, and my class will be starting their writer's notebooks this coming week, which is really exciting for us. There are definitely parts of this that I'll share with the kids at school, and I'll also pull out some of the prompt ideas that came up in this book. But it is a really interesting, very short, very easy to read sort of reference book. So those are the books that I read this week. In the comments below, let me know if you have read any of these books and what your thoughts are on them, or if you're planning on picking any of them up in the future. Alternatively, let me know what you have been reading over the last 7 days. I would love to hear. I hope that wherever you're in the world, you're having a wonderful day, and I'll catch you guys in my next video. Thanks so much for watching. Bye guys.